everyone, this is Brandon Oliveris from Co-Creation Coaching, and today we have another question from a reader regarding anxiety. So our reader asks, "Hi, my question is, how does the subconscious mind / LOA explain anxiety and depression and other mental health issues? I have been struggling with the same for years now, especially erratic and self-sabotaging behavior, and I'm super interested in getting your detailed take on it." All right, this is an awesome question, and I can speak a great deal on it because I have had anxiety that I've dealt with for years and years, ever since I can remember. So I can definitely relate to having anxiety, and I've had depression before as well, and I know how difficult that can be to deal with. It's not easy at all. So the first thing I want to say is that sometimes we're just born with these things, and it's not, I know some law of attraction teachers will say that, it can be from our childhood environment being negative, or thoughts that our parents had, or things like that. I don't really agree with it. I think that can happen, but I don't think it always happens like that. For example, I went blind when I was 4 years old from a brain tumor. And would I say that was because of, my mother having bad thoughts when she was pregnant or something? No, I don't think so at all. Sometimes things just happen. And for some reason, my soul, my higher self, chose to come into this life knowing that blindness would result, knowing that and choosing that I would have anxiety and, several other issues. And like I said, it's a choice. Our higher self chooses how we come into this life. It's not to do with some kind of, negativity on our parents' part. It's not anything like that. Our higher self chooses what kind of life we will have, at least to start off with. We're given a starting point, and we continue from there. So sometimes anxiety and depression is just a chemical reaction, and there's not much we can do about it. Some people will choose to go on medications. I never have. I know some people have to because it's too chronic. I never have because I like to have my emotions be authentic as they are. So I've developed my own techniques for dealing with these sorts of issues for myself when I'm really anxious. And I'm lucky that I have Christine who can really help me when I'm anxious as well. Sometimes we get it later on, either from a traumatic experience or something that was embedded in our subconscious mind. What you have to realize is anxiety, at the root of it, is our subconscious mind feeling unsafe. And sometimes it gets in this chronic loop where it always feels unsafe, sometimes more than others. And that's where you get things like chronic anxiety. You get OCD sometimes from that. You get all sorts of different things because we develop certain coping mechanisms that may or may not seem logical, but they seem valid to our subconscious mind that deal with this feeling of being unsafe. That's really what it comes down to. Sometimes it's from birth, like I said, because of just some kind of incorrect wiring in the brain, so to speak. Sometimes it's later on from all sorts of different experiences that our subconscious mind takes to heart and suddenly it feels unsafe. It just depends. So how do you deal with that? I mean, if it's something you're born with, you just have to do your best to deal with that. Use mindfulness is what I've found to be the best technique for dealing with anxiety, whether it's from birth or whether it's later on. But if it's something that was introduced later in life, the best thing you can do is to discover for yourself, why are you feeling unsafe? And then address those reasons and do your best to convince your subconscious that you are safe. So that is really important because, again, when you feel unsafe, your subconscious mind is going to sabotage what you're trying to do. So do your best to make your subconscious mind feel safe. There are lots of techniques for that. NLP is a great set of techniques for dealing with that kind of thing. But mostly it's associating positive feelings with the trigger that makes you feel unsafe. Okay? So that your subconscious mind can learn to trust in your environment and not overreact like that. Now, depression, I think, is slightly different. Again, depression can be something that we have a tendency to from birth, and sometimes it can come later on. I have gone through a few patches of depression, and I think largely, it can be very similar to anxiety. It can be when we've denied ourselves for so long of what it is we really want that our subconscious mind just doesn't see a point anymore. And so we feel depressed. I talked about in this week's podcast why you should never settle. In Co-Create Your Life number 21, I talked about finding our soul's passion. And I said, that soul's passion, it feeds you, it feeds your soul, it nourishes your soul. And without that, what do you have? So sometimes depression can come from a lack of purpose. It can come from not knowing where we're going in life. It can come from not enjoying where we are and not seeing a way out. I think that's probably one of the most common reasons for depression that isn't chemical. Again, some of it is chemical and you can't really do much about it besides psychological techniques to help you with that or medication. But if it stems from a lack of purpose or from living a kind of life that you're not enjoying, then that's your choice to change that. And you can change that. And one of my major passions is showing people that you are not trapped. You have a way out. You are a powerful creator who can choose a different reality for yourself, even if it doesn't seem like it. So you just have to choose more and more freedom, more and more enjoyment, more and more purpose. It takes time. It takes time, but, that is something that you can get to. So hopefully that overview helps. Like I said, it just depends on the cause of it, and you really just have to track down that cause, and if possible, do your best to resolve it. If it's from birth and you can't do that, and I would just find psychological techniques that can help to cope with it. Like I said, mindfulness is the one that I've used the most and that works the best for me, but it just depends on the person. But you do have the power to live a normal life, even if it's something that you can't really deal with, that you can't really permanently resolve. You can live a normal life and you can achieve a lot. Even if you have anxiety, you can still manifest a great deal because, like I said, I have anxiety and I've manifested a great deal. You don't have to be totally calm and free of anxiety to be able to manifest. And I know that's sort of, a lot of people don't believe that, but, even though I have anxiety quite often, I am still able to manifest a great deal of things. So don't be afraid that that isn't possible and that you can't manifest things in your life, because you can and you do already. So I hope that this answers your questions. If you have any comments on this, feel free to comment by coming to cocreationcoaching.org, and I will leave a link in my YouTube description to the blog post. If you're seeing this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you'd like more videos like this, or check out my blog at cocreationcoaching.org. Thanks so much, everyone, and as always, anything is possible.